University. Of course, Darwin, when you think of it, of course, is in Northern Territory. So it's one of the biggest universities in Darwin, as we know. And Cheryl, welcome. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I believe you're in Sydney, which is kind of sunny at this point of time. So it's good to have that weather.
Yes. Yes, I am in Sydney. I'm based over at the CDU Sydney campus.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much, Cheryl, for giving your time. We are in Melbourne, so of course tomorrow is a public holiday for us, which won't be for you because of course grand final is a big thing in Melbourne. But let's talk about the CDU. So we can you please tell us a little bit information about Charles Darwin University and the campuses?
Yes, absolutely. So at CDU, our students live and they study in a really inclusive and growing community where they're known by name in the classroom and in their community. We offer research intensive and quality programs that offer a lot of hands-on experience for our students. So, look, we're offering programs for students in a place where they have the opportunity to stand out from the crowd. We're ranked number 2 in graduate salaries and full-time employment through the Good Universities Guide 2020. And we have a fantastic, diverse range of programs for our students. So, we've got everything from foundation, MQPs, PQPs. We have diploma programs, vet programs. We have bachelor degrees, master degrees, and higher degree by research. So we have basically everything in a great range of different programs available. And speaking of vet, we're the 3-time winner of the Northern Territory Training Provider of the Year. So we have some really great vet programs, including commercial cookery, hospitality, and hairdressing, beauty. We offer really small class sizes. So where a lot of students might be taking online studies and hundreds of people dumped into a class, we have very small class sizes, about 25 students per class. That's both if they're taking it face-to-face or if they're fully online. And we do have a number of online students at the moment from offshore and also onshore in Victoria, and some still in Sydney, waiting to do that transition for semester 1, 2021. Um, but look, we offer loads of student engagement opportunities. We have a Northern Territory Ambassador program. We've got the CDU Ambassador program. There's lots of opportunity for volunteer programs, student trips, and more. So students who take advantage of engagement tend to get the best job opportunities. It's not just enough to study, but you want to be part of that community and make yourself part of that community. So in total, we have over 20,000 students and about 2,000 international students. So a small international number for an onshore university. But with 60 different nationalities, you have the ability to meet people from around the world. And Darwin, it's a tropical city. It's at the gateway to Asia, only a 2-hour flight to Indonesia, and 4 hours from your major cities across Southeast Asia. So yeah, you get something different there. There's a very strong Aboriginal community in Darwin and in the Northern Territory. You get a unique Australian experience that you're not going to experience from other cities across Australia. And of course, we have campuses. We have a couple of campuses in Darwin. We have the Palmerston campus, which is where our vet programs are. We have Alice Springs. We have commercial cookery in Alice Springs. And Sydney, where I'm located, we are now offering a Bachelor of Nursing and a Master of Nursing practice pre-registration. And students going into that Master of Nursing program do not have to come from a cognate degree. So there's some pretty good opportunities for studying nursing programs. We have a very good price point for Sydney, and a really fantastic multi-million dollar campus with a multi-million dollar nursing practice suite and a really supportive team of lecturers and professors. So look, if you study in Sydney, you study in Darwin, you get to take advantage of the fact that we are number 6 in nursing programs across Australia. Um, so look, when Darwin, with the population of 160,000 people and 60 different nationalities across 70 different ethnic backgrounds, you're not missing out from that big city experience of being able to meet people from all around the world. So, according to students, and this is actually according to a student, he wrote, I was like, hey, what's the best things about living in Darwin? And he said, well, friendly. It's so friendly, inclusive. I love the cultural diversity of Darwin. And people all know me by name. I've got great employment and career opportunities, which is a really good point. Darwin is a capital city. And though it's a small population, there's a great diversity of industry and government jobs too. So, you have an opportunity to seek some really good employment while you're in Darwin, both while you study and when you graduate. Of course, you saw I already mentioned we're number 1 in graduate, number 2 in full-time employment after graduation. But we also have like really great opportunities. I mean, in health sciences, for example, you're almost guaranteed a job when you complete your program. At social work, psychology, you're making the highest salaries at graduation in the Northern Territory than you would in any other place in Australia. So really great career opportunities. You're living in a relaxed lifestyle. There's a lower cost of living. Rent is 30% less expensive in Darwin than it is in like Sydney and Melbourne. So, you're more likely to work while you study, and you're more likely to make more, money per hour while you study. Plus, you have that 30% discount on your, living expenses, rent particularly. You're going to benefit from a higher quality of life while you study. You're close to Asia, and that's really nice for all of our students. We have a lot of Asian students, and the reason they pick us is because they're so close to home, easy for them to get in and out once, of course, travel restrictions are lifted. And, he loves that indigenous culture, that unique Australian experience, like I said.
True, true. I should have changed, or I should have tweaked my question. I should have asked you which courses you don't provide rather than which courses. Of course, as a student, if they looking at a particular college or university about certain courses, I'm sure you tick most of the boxes.
I
So
think we do.
exactly, exactly. So thank you so much for that. Now, as you mentioned about the travel restrictions, as we all know that COVID-19 has pretty much disrupted so many things.
Yes.
So since March, I would like to ask you, what are the new things which you've implemented for students? Now, of course, term 1 or term 2, and of course now November intake would be in that particular zone. So what are the changes you guys have implemented?
Well, of course, as you know, we offer online study. Now, most of our students, in Australia are choosing to make their way to Northern Territory. I mean, it's one of the safest places in the world to be right now. And so very little effect. They've had almost no effect of COVID in Northern Territory. 32 cases, 32 recoveries, 0 deaths. Um, I want all of my students to make their way to Darwin. I know that they're going to be safe there, that's for sure. Um, for students that aren't able to make it, we have about 50 students right now in Victoria that are not able to make that transition to Darwin because they don't want to do the quarantine, and it is a long quarantine period, particularly as everybody's already locked down in Darwin, I mean in Victoria for so long. So they've been taking online study. Now look, we were one of the first Australian universities to offer online study, and we've been doing it for more than 20 years. So where a lot of other universities were rushing to make this different, this transition to online study and offer that to their students, we had that long before. And really good news was we conducted a student survey, and had an extremely high rate of happiness and acceptance of online study. So according to our international students, more than 80% of our students were satisfied to extremely satisfied
Awesome.
with the technology, the support, the experience that they've had with their online study. And of course, we're not making people take full-time study online. I think that that's not really fair. And no one agrees that that's the most ideal way for students to learn. I think education is very much a people thing. You know, you want to be in front of people. The whole international experience is about meeting
True,
people. And
true.
that was the number one concern for international students, according to that survey, that they were feeling generally comfortable with that switch, but their biggest concern was their inability to interact with other students. So we do have, you know, as part of the feature of our online study, this ability for our students to connect in that platform. But you know, it's not the same as like being in front of people. But that said, you know, we are getting our students through the program that way. We
Hmm.
want them to make their way to the territory. Once they get there, you can expect to either be fully face to face or with a blended platform or blended learning mode, we call it, because some of our programs there might be too many students to accommodate social distancing in the classroom.
Yep.
So where we have too many students in a classroom, we're offering the lecture online, and then they're coming together in smaller tutorial groups face to face. So there'll always be face-to-face interaction for our students at CDU.
Yep, excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much, Cheryl. The next question which I have, and before going to the next question, it's very satisfying to see that more than 80% of the students have kind of adjusted well, and they're liking the new method or going way. The most of the times, what we receive the feedback is, of course, if you are in a lecture environment in a uni, if you miss out, you unfortunately miss out. But if when you're sitting at home, and if it's recorded, then you can go back, to that same sort of a lecture, go see what you sort of things have missed out, and then you can reach out to your lecturer and professor and find out what are the things which may not have understood at that point of time. So in that sense, people have taken it very well. So that's a positive sign, which
That's really great to hear. And you know, I do want to say that, you know, we still have, you know, 80% of our students, or actually 90% of our students are domestic students. And of that number, 80% are studying online only. So we've always recorded our lectures. We've
so
always given the opportunity for students to go back and check out their lecture if they maybe felt like they missed something out, they need to go back and review.
yeah.
So yeah, we have a pretty high success rate.
And that close community, I think, is just going to help, because of course, when I by the way, I lived in Darwin for 2 years, and whatever you're telling me, I could relate to my time, because when I used to go in the city, and people sometimes, if you go to a same restaurant for quite a number of times, then they actually know you by your name.
Yeah.
That's not possible in Melbourne and Sydney, let's be honest.
That's true. That's
So,
true. Like, are you having the laksa again, sir? Yeah.
true, true. So, and I remember, I think the ticket from Pravin City to Palmerston campus, or it was like $2 or 150 or something like that.
Yeah,
So it's the commute is also very cheap compared to, you talk about, the bigger cities. So
that's true.
there are absolutely.
$7 per week for our students. $7. I was like, in Sydney, you'd be lucky to pay that for one day.
Let's not talk about that.
Yeah, we won't talk about that.
So, of course, we talked about CDU. We talked about the different things which were kind of implemented due to COVID-19. Now, student services. We of course give a little bit more emphasis, or even for that matter, Australia, in general, give more emphasis on mental health. Gives more emphasis on well-being. So student well-being or student mental health is of course very crucial for university in that matter. So what sort of student services you guys provide, and what are the options student can reach out to?
Yeah, so we have a really comprehensive range of student support services. It's very important for us because, you know, of course, we don't have a whole lot of education agent partners in Darwin. You know, for the most part, our students come back to us for that support services that they might actually be going to your offices to receive. So personal support, mental health counseling, very important. We have a great team of mental health counselors that students can access all the time. We have access and inclusion counselors as too for people who might have special needs or disabilities that require some special assistance. Um, we offer career and employment counseling. In fact, I put myself on their mailing list and I see all of the great initiatives that they do. So, even I'm like, wow, maybe I should change my career. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Never, never. I love being here. I love working with you guys. Um, but no, excellent employment counseling. And that's not just for our graduates, but that's also for our students that are currently studying. Um, we have accommodation advice and assistance. So, if they don't, even if it's outside our own accommodation, we have a great accommodation at International House Darwin. But, for people who want to do independent accommodation, we can help them with advice and information on that. And we also can even offer financial planning assistance and advice. So, really quite good personal support. Within the academic support, of course, we have the LearnLine platform, which is our online learning platform, but that's integrated into every program. So if you're even doing face to face, you still have access to LearnLine. We have library guides and liaisons. Probably the most popular for international students is our academic language and learning success program. Um, that's run by a fantastic team in Darwin, including Eleanor Keegan. She's part of that team. And we were just talking about her for those of you watching this Facebook Live session. She's amazing, and so she's a part of that team. And I know that if she's there, they must be getting some really really good service. We also have study skills workshops and peer assisted study sessions. So that's usually hosted by students who have completed a program, who are highly successful in that program, and able to help students coming from a student point of view, not necessarily from a lecturer or professor point of view. Kind of stepping it back a bit sometimes helps our students to have a better grasp of the information that they're receiving. And then finally, we have great international student support services. So we have our own dedicated team for our international students looking after you, because your needs are going to be different from domestic students. So assisting with COE advice and information, orientation, of course, is a big part of what we do. We make sure that you understand your student visa obligations and conditions. We help you with intermission or study load management. And of course, if you take Allianz as your OSHC provider, we have Allianz on campus 2 days a week to help process your claims. And then additionally, with this whole COVID situation, we've had to offer even more comprehensive support services for our students. And I think we've done a great job there. We have multiple food support services for our students, including Kindness Shake, which was really led by the Northern Territory government and CDU. We have got, job hubs access for our students to help you find employment during these times, COVID times. Emergency accommodation grants and assistance. We've had free legal advice for students and more. So I think, students are very well covered. We won't leave anyone behind.
So I think in this situation also I should have changed or tweaked my question, as in which services you don't provide.
Do we don't do.
You mentioned about finance, you mentioned about accommodation, you mentioned about pretty much everything when it comes to student life, and that's very important. And as you said, that we're glad to know that all the parts are covered when it comes to a student life. So that's great to know. Now the next question is very important, Cheryl. There are students who are currently in, say, Melbourne, Sydney, Adelaide, anywhere. They wish to come and study at CDU. Of course, there are some travel restrictions. From everywhere, people can't travel. So I believe the next intake, which would be November,
Yes.
how students should go ahead. What's your advice to them?
Yeah, so look, we have a pretty good range of programs now. We don't have everything available in November because it's not a normal intake for us. In fact, it's the very first time we've been doing it for international students. But again, we want to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to study. Um, this intake, look, most people will be studying part-time in this intake, which is, I think it's a great time. And I mean, look, COVID has been terrible, more or less, but there's been some advantages. And I think one of those big advantages is that you can take a part-time study load where usually you would have to be doing full-time. And if you're kicking off, a new degree or changing universities, going into a program, you might need some time to transition. And, transitioning on a part-time load is actually, I think, quite advantageous. Um, so look, for the programs that we're offering, we have business and accounting, for both the bachelor and the master. We have the full range of engineering, the full range of IT programs. We'll have some of the health sciences programs, including the Bachelor of Social Work. There's, and the Bachelor of Exercise and Sports Science. And, you get some added advantages. For anyone who meets the entry requirements to the program, you can get a 10% scholarship off the first 2 semesters of study. And we have a payment plan. And that payment plan includes a 50% deposit for your COE, 25% due on the 4th of December, and then the remaining 25% due on the 4th of January. So those two things are not guaranteed for February. They have not been approved. So I don't know if they're going to be there for February intake. Um, but look, I think, it is a really good time to consider kicking off your studies. And if that would be, face to face, please, by all means, get to the territory if you can, because, it's going to be a much better, experience for you. And I think you're going to be very, very safe and happy there. But if you can't make it to the territory, you are certainly welcome to join these programs online and then transition to the territory when you can. And one thing I want to say, and I'm really proud to say this, is that Charles Darwin University is the first university in Australia to welcome back students from overseas. So,
Yay!
yay, chartered flight. We have a chartered flight. I mean, unfortunately, there's restrictions around this chartered flight because we have to make sure that the students can get to Singapore. So right now, I've got students, Japan. We've got Japan, China, Hong Kong, Vietnam. Am I forgetting anybody? Vietnam, Japan, they're on and Singapore. Everybody's making their way to Singapore, and then from Singapore, we have 70 places on a chartered flight for our students to fly into Darwin. And then when they get there, they do 14 days of quarantine. So we were hoping that Nepal would be part of that list. We haven't yet received approval, but we will keep you updated. If Nepal makes it, then by all means, let's pack that flight and get your students into like the Northern Territory.
Yes, excellent. That's a very pleasing sign, and I think we are going in a positive direction. To be honest, we are. I mean, of course, there are few states which are still in that COVID zone, but I'm sure they are coming out of it soon as well. So that's a very pleasing thing to see. Um, Cheryl, in general, you've given the information about Darwin itself. You've given information about CDU. We've talked about how closely knit that community is. It's very sort of easy to travel. It's kind of the second you received the awards as well, many awards on that basis. So please tell me, if I'm a student in Australia right now and I wishes to start, what is the thing which you would like me to tell? What is the thing which you think is I need to consider coming to Darwin?
Yeah, like, I think that most students, when they're making that consideration, of course, they're looking at rankings, and having that being number 2 in Australia for graduate employment and graduate salary rates means a return on investment. And I think ultimately, I certainly know that when I studied, that was the main thing I was concerned about. I'm putting in a lot of time and effort and money into this. I want to study something that I know will result in employment and good employment, and we are making decent money. So, look, I think we offer that. I think we do. You can feel very assured that you're going to have a good return on investment. And I think, it's also about quality of life. And right now, when we're all kind of struggling a little bit, and we might have, you know, maybe we don't have access to funds the way we used to because people are diverting funds for living costs and things. Families are struggling a little bit. You can be in a place where the cost of living is a little less expensive, and where you have a pretty good quality of life. Yeah, I think that that would be something. And of course, that safety aspect, I think safety is really key for all of us right now. We want to stay healthy. Everybody's working so hard to like maintain social distancing and everything. And so yeah, going to the territory, no deaths, no COVID for a long time. I don't even know when the last case went through, like it was months ago. You can feel pretty assured that you're going to be COVID free.
Which is very important at this point of time.
Yes, it is.
True, true. Excellent. Thank you so much, Cheryl. I know in Victoria we have a, yeah, grand final weekend off, which is tomorrow.
Yep.
So we will be having a 3 day week, 3 days off in this week. But guys, you have listened to Cheryl. She's given all that information. If you are in Melbourne or Sydney or Adelaide or any state and you wish to start Charles Darwin University in November intake, please feel free to reach out to any of our offices. Of course, there are different scholarship as well, which we will definitely give you information. There are certain things which Charles Darwin University has given it to you, which none of the other universities has given it so far. So that's a very positive sign, and you assured that you are going in a university or at a place where it's really good historically. It's been very good for students. So feel free to reach out to us, and we'll definitely get back to you as soon as possible. We have mentioned one link here as well, so you can put your questions on that link, and we'll definitely try level best to reach out to you as soon as possible. Cheryl, thank you so much once again for your time. It's been pleasure talking to you, and we'll definitely catch up very soon.
Thank you. Lovely to speak with you. Lovely to speak with your students. And I look forward to welcoming your students onto campus when they're able to get there.
Same here. Thank you. Thank you so much, Cheryl. Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.
You
Thank you.
too.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.